When you're chatting with someone, or even just listening to someone speak, there's a lot that you can infer from the way that they talk. Oh, this presenter is hurried, relaxed, anxious, confident. Maybe I'd come across as more thoughtful if I had spoken more slowly, potentially. So, in this work, we were inspired by these perceptual influences. AI generations can appear quickly and slowly, just like speech. It can also be smooth or choppy. These might change how the information that is being presented is understood. I'm David, and on behalf of my amazing collaborators, I'm going to present our study where we observed that such perceptual effects also apply to AI writing tools. In everyday life, when you talk to someone or simply just listen to them, we encounter all sorts of speaking qualities, such as speech rate and cadence. Sometimes speaking slowly might suggest the speaker is speaking methodically or they're at a loss for words. Speaking quickly might suggest anxiety or being overly practiced and confident. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the way that we talk carries implications in how we are perceived. Past studies in language and social psychology had found that fast and moderate speaking rates, that is relative to oneself, resulted in higher perceived competence and social attractiveness. They were, in other words, preferred. However, these findings come with the asterisk that these perceptions are highly subjective and dependent on the person as well as the context. In language model interfaces, there are also some differences in how they present their output. ChatGPT on the left fades the text in quickly and smoothly. Deeply in the middle shows the text word by word or token by token with greater variance and pause length. Claude on the right streams the text character by character as if it's being typed. And the important piece is that these industry tools and research systems we might make ourselves often are made to be anthropomorphic. We can chat with them, we can even speak with them, and they have human-like names and avatars, like Claude, which is being made by Anthropic, for example. So much software is made to look human, even though that such designs have the potential to color or even manipulate our perceptions of what they output. In our study on text appearance, we specifically looked at inline continuations, keeping in mind that there are many forms of AI assistants that are out there, such as writing chatbots, as well as tools that help you rewrite your text. Here is an overview of our experimental interface. We investigated 5 different appearance styles. Here are slow, which we considered as the upper ceiling for human typing speed, medium, which is in between close reading and skimming speeds, and fast, which approximates large language model generation speeds. At the time of writing, it was equivalent to the speed of GPT-4o Mini. These also roughly correspond with past studies in early computing on visual display units. The other 2 presentation styles that we considered are random, which uses an insertion sort algorithm, and backwards, which presents text starting from the last character. These are distinctively non-human, so we might wonder how these designs affect our perceptions of these tools. Our first research question, therefore, is how do the speed and order of AI text completion appearance affect the reading comfort, the perceived quality of the AI text, how users perceive anthropomorphic attributes of the system, as well as the user's attitude towards potentially adopting them. Our second question relates to genre. What is the effect of genre, specifically creative writing and professional writing, on the perception of speeds? In our study, we involved 2 genres, creative writing and professional writing. And by genre, I really mean genre systems. Genre systems include the recognizable actions or movements in a specific area. Texts that might appear within the creative writing genre system, specifically the short form fiction, might be setting and character description, dialogue, even the blog posts and comments on the blog itself or the stories being posted for our online blog writing scenario. For professional writing, we might see emails, proposals, presentation scripts, even voiceovers, to name a few. So you might be wondering why exactly genre systems. I think the answer is related to ecological validity. We could have chosen to do 5 of the same tasks per genres, but there are many potential types of writing in each genre. It's not just all setting description or character description, or merely just prose or creative writing. We use the concept of genre systems to align our study to these real-world writing situations, and also to be able to investigate the effects of contrasting genres. So to seek answers to our research questions, we conducted a controlled experiment. We had recruited 297 participants, each who completed 10 of the same writing scenarios. The first 5 scenarios would follow one genre. The following 5 would follow the other genre. Before the scenarios are presented, the system would provide instructional text that situates the participant in the writing context. For example, for the creative genre, it would say, "You are a creative writer working on a short fantasy story for your blog. The story takes place in a flower shop called Petal and Pestle," etc. So there are 5 scenarios per genre, which means 10 total scenarios because there are 2 genres, as well as 5 presentation conditions. Each would be shown twice because there are 10 scenarios. The sequences of scenarios and presentation conditions were independently randomized. To analyze our data, we conducted a multi-way ANOVA, followed by pairwise comparisons between levels. We conducted reflexive thematic analysis on our open-ended question, which was shown at the end of the study, to address the potential confound in text quality. While we independently randomized the factors, we also calculated the Flesch-Kincaid readability as a proxy for text quality, and we did not observe significant differences between the texts within the genre. Before we go on to the results, here is an example of what a participant might see. In this example, they would see the professional scenarios first, followed by the creative scenarios. The scenarios themselves and presentation conditions, again, were independently randomized within each genre, while the genre alternates between participants as a counterbalancing method. So with the study design out of the way, let's talk about the results. We had 8 hypotheses, but for this talk, I will focus on 4 of them. These are the ones that were significant. Starting with reading comfort, we found that medium was the most comfortable to read, followed by slow and fast, lastly, then backwards and random. Participants preferred to read along, as participants had different reading speeds that had affected the text appearance speeds that they preferred. This also meant that backwards and random were very hard to read and jarring. Below are some selected participant quotes from the full thematic analysis. P186 preferred slow and medium, and P273 preferred medium and fast. These corresponded with their reading pace. Random and backwards were hard to read, which was a point of friction. Secondly, and perhaps the most surprising of our results, is that we found that the medium speed results in the highest perceived text quality, followed by slow and fast, then backwards and random. We didn't expect perceptions of text quality to change because there's nothing changing about the text content. Instead, participants made connections to how much effort the system seemingly put in, as well as the amount of detail that was seemingly provided. These notions of effort and detail had influenced the perceived quality. P46 thought that fast didn't put enough work into the writing, while P202 thought that slow was too detailed, and the fast lacked depth. P174 thought that the random provided unexpected twists, and keep in mind that these quotes are coming from the way that the text appears. For our third hypothesis, we found that slow and medium appeared more human-like than fast, then backwards and random. We noted participants attributing human traits to speeds, like P202, who had continued to say that medium was a balance between speed and thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness is, of course, a distinctively human trait. Slow being perceived as more human, even as a human writing collaborator. For trustworthiness, we found that the forward presentations were more trustworthy than backwards and random. Interestingly, participants noted these as unnatural, robotic, even producing errors. P56 said that backwards and random were very off-putting, even seemingly erring. Sometimes even fast and slow would be grouped along with backwards and random to be regarded as clunky or robotic. Finally, we didn't observe interaction of effects with respect to genre, which the other 4 hypotheses were concerned with. Qualitatively, we found that participants were highly divided in speed preferences when accounting for genre, which supports this lack of consensus. If we were to plot the conditions across these 2 axes with slow and fast on one and creative and professional on the other, we can see that participants expressed a range of opinions. P107 thought that creative writing thrived with the fast version. It was spontaneous. Meanwhile, P86 thought that slow and medium were the most thought out for creative writing. Likewise, we can see similar judgments being made for the professional genre. So coming back to writing, what do these results mean? I think the first thing is that we should be intentional in the designs that we choose, and also give control to users. We can let them decide what type of generation fits their needs and context. Secondly, and most importantly, I think we should also be aware of the perceptual manipulations that writing tools have. We saw connections between presentation speed and text quality, to detail, to thoughtfulness, and this has huge implications with how the generated language and the systems are being perceived. It might be misleading or even manipulative to present the text in ways that changed their direct understanding. Finally, we suggest that these designs have influences on the experience of writing, whether it supports a person who wants to read and think in the moment, or whether they want to just simply read along with the text generation, potentially be more reflective and critical if it was slowed down, or people who need the generation as quickly as possible. Presentation speed affects their writing and thinking processes. Sometimes the effects are as simple as feeling unsettled or uncomfortable and going against the flow, which might detract from the writing experience. So, going back to our research questions, how does speed and order of AI text appearance affect all of these considerations? We found that medium is the most comfortable, medium results in the highest perceived text quality, slow and medium appeared more human like, and slow and medium and fast were the most trustworthy. We didn't find perceptions of speed being influenced by genre in a general sense. Participants were quite divided according to genre, as we've seen before, finding different aspects of creative and professional writing to be more important, therefore influencing which speeds that they would prefer. So if there's one takeaway from this talk, I think it's important to uncover these unintentional or not manipulations of these writing tools or creativity support tools that we make. How something is being presented to the user changes how it is used, beyond just the surface to perceptions of how they relate to the tool and even how they consider their own processes. For writing, this means a cascade of influences, including how language is thought of and expressed. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. You're always welcome to get in touch with us if you're interested in the work. So with that, thank you.